Dr. Alan Foster leaned forward in his chair, the blue light of the screen reflecting in his tired eyes. The small lab on the U.S. horizon hummed with the quiet sounds of equipment as he sifted through the data from their deep space scan. The ship had been monitoring this sector for 3 weeks, a routine mission that had yielded nothing unusual until now. "That's odd," he muttered, enlarging a section of the scan. The energy pattern didn't match any known natural phenomenon. It pulsed with a regularity that suggested purpose, intelligence. Alan ran his fingers through his disheveled brown hair and reached for the communication panel. "Lieutenant Wells, could you come to Lab 3? I found something you should see." Susan Wells arrived 5 minutes later, her uniform crisp despite the late hour. Unlike Alan's chaotic workspace, Susan approached everything with military precision. "What am I looking at, Doctor?" she asked, studying the screen. "This energy signature." Alan pointed to the pulsing pattern. "It's approximately 4.7 light-years from our current position, near the edge of explored space. The pattern repeats every 12.8 seconds with exact precision." Susan frowned. "Natural objects don't pulse with that kind of regularity." "Exactly," Alan said, excitement growing in his voice. "And look at this frequency analysis. The signal contains embedded patterns that suggest data transmission." He pulled up another screen showing a complex mathematical breakdown. "These aren't random. They form a structure that's too ordered for natural occurrence." Susan's expression turned serious. "You think it's artificial? Alien?" "I think we've just discovered evidence of a highly advanced civilization," Alan said, unable to hide his excitement. "And based on the energy readings, they're building something massive out there." Susan studied the data for several long moments. "I'll notify Captain Wright immediately. We need to change course to investigate." 3 days later, the U.S. horizon moved cautiously toward the source of the signal. The bridge crew worked in focused silence as the main screen displayed their approach. "Magnification at maximum," announced the young officer at the sensor station. The screen showed a distant structure. It was enormous, with sections still under construction. Smaller objects moved around it with purpose, ships or construction vessels. "That's no space station," Captain Olivia Wright said quietly. "The energy readings suggest it's a weapon platform." Alan analyzed the incoming data, his excitement turning to concern. "The main emitter appears to be aimed toward our sector of space, specifically toward Earth's arm of the galaxy." The bridge fell silent. "Could it be defensive?" Susan asked. "Maybe they don't know we're here." Alan shook his head. "The transmission patterns we detected included stellar coordinates. They've been mapping our region. They know exactly where Earth is." Captain Wright straightened her uniform. "We need more information before we jump to conclusions. Lieutenant Wells, prepare a detailed scan. Dr. Foster, I want an analysis of those transmissions. Let's see if we can decode their language." As the crew carried out their orders, Alan worked through the night. The patterns began to make sense as he compared them to known linguistic structures. By morning, he had a partial translation. When he finally understood what he was reading, his blood ran cold. "Captain," he called over the communication system, "I've decoded part of their transmissions. It appears to be some kind of targeting data. And there's something else. They refer repeatedly to a containment protocol for developing civilizations." He paused, looking at the final section he'd translated. "They're calling Earth a potential threat, and according to their timetable, the construction will be complete in 60 days. Captain Olivia Wright called an emergency meeting in the main conference room of the U.S. horizon. The ship's senior officers gathered around the table, their faces serious as they reviewed Dr. Foster's findings. "We need to make contact," Captain Wright said firmly. "If these aliens are planning something that involves Earth, we need to understand their intentions." Commander John Clark, the ship's first officer, nodded in agreement. "I volunteer to lead the diplomatic mission. We should approach with caution but openness." "I'll prepare a communication package," Alan said. "Basic mathematical concepts, Images of humans, peaceful greetings, standard first contact protocol. Major Daniel Harris, the ship's military advisor, looked unconvinced. We should maintain combat readiness. If they're building a weapon aimed at our planet, diplomacy might not be their priority. 3 days later, a small shuttle departed from the horizon. Commander Clark sat in the pilot's seat with Lieutenant Wells handling communications. Dr. Foster and Major Harris accompanied them, along with 2 security officers. As they approached the massive structure, they got their first clear view of the aliens' work. The construction dwarfed their shuttle like a whale next to a minnow. Metal frameworks stretched for miles, with strange energy fields pulsing between sections. Broadcasting our greeting message on all frequencies, Susan announced, her fingers moving across the control panel. For several tense minutes, there was no response. Then the communication system crackled to life, the view screen filled with the image of a being unlike anything they had seen before. Its skin was pale blue with a metallic sheen, and multiple eyes were arranged in a circle around its head. "We are the Volteri," the alien said in perfect English. "Your language was simple to decode. Why have you approached our installation?" Commander Clark stepped forward. "We represent Earth and the United Space Alliance. We detected your construction and wish to establish peaceful contact." The alien's eyes blinked in sequence. "Your species was not expected to discover our presence for another 12 of your years. This is inconvenient. What is the purpose of your installation?" Major Harris asked directly. "A regulatory measure," the alien replied smoothly. "Nothing that concerns developing species." The diplomatic team was invited aboard the Volteri station. They were led through enormous corridors where other alien workers moved with purpose. The Volteri representative, who called itself Emissary Keld, showed them observation rooms filled with screens displaying different star systems. "We monitor many regions of space," Keld explained. "It is our responsibility." While Dr. Foster and Commander Clark engaged in conversation with the emissary, Major Harris noticed something concerning. The Volteri workers were exchanging glances when they thought the humans weren't looking. Their body language suggested tension. During a tour of what Keld called the Preservation Archives, Harris slipped away briefly. He activated a small device that could intercept electronic communications. Within minutes, it had captured several encrypted transmissions between Volteri ships. Later, back on their shuttle, Harris waited until they had departed the station before sharing his discovery. "They're lying to us," he said grimly, displaying the translated messages on a small screen. "I picked up multiple references to containment protocols specifically for humanity. One message mentioned standard suppression procedures for civilizations approaching Class C technical development. That's exactly where Earth is on the technological scale," Allen said quietly. Commander Clark's expression darkened. "They're not building a regulatory station. They're building a weapon to keep us contained, or worse. We need to return to the horizon immediately," Susan said. "Earth needs to be warned." As their shuttle accelerated away from the station, they noticed several Volteri ships changing position. The aliens were now watching them closely, their earlier hospitality appearing increasingly hollow. "I don't think they're going to let us simply report back what we've learned," Major Harris said, checking the shuttle's defensive systems. "Our peaceful first contact just got complicated." The shuttle raced back toward the U.S. horizon, pushed to its maximum speed. Major Harris watched the sensor display with growing concern. "3 Volteri vessels have broken formation. They're pursuing us," he reported, his voice steady despite the danger. Commander Clark opened a channel to the horizon. "Captain Wright, we're coming in hot with hostiles in pursuit. Request immediate support and prepare for emergency departure from this sector." On the bridge of the horizon, Captain Wright issued rapid orders. "Battle stations. Power up defensive systems. Prepare for immediate retrieval of the shuttle." The large ship turned, positioning itself between the approaching Volteri vessels and the returning shuttle. Its weapons systems came online, not firing but ready. The shuttle docked with barely controlled speed. As soon as the airlock sealed, the Horizon's engines flared to life, pushing the ship into high-speed retreat. The Valtteri aren't pursuing beyond the perimeter of their construction zone, the sensor officer reported with evident relief. They don't need to chase us, Alan said grimly. They'd know where Earth is. They'd been watching us for some time. Captain Wright ordered an emergency transmission to Earth, sending all their findings about the Valtteri and their apparent plans. The message would take weeks to reach home, even using their fastest communication technology. Meanwhile, on Earth, Professor Gregory Martinez worked in his laboratory at the Global Archaeological Institute. The elderly scientist had spent 40 years studying ancient artifacts from around the world. Lately, he had focused on objects that didn't seem to fit with human historical development. The strange tablet on his desk had been discovered in an underwater cave system off the coast of Japan. Carbon dating suggested it was over 15,000 years old, but its composition included alloys that humans hadn't developed until the 20th century. The symbols carved into its surface had defied translation until Gregory connected them with similar markings found in caves in South Africa and Peru. He believed they were not human in origin. Professor Martinez, his assistant, called from the doorway. The new scanning results are complete. The young woman handed him a tablet displaying 3D images of the artifact's interior structure. Hidden within were complex circuits and what appeared to be a data storage system. It's some kind of recording device, Gregory murmured. And it's still active after all these millennia. After weeks of careful work, Gregory's team managed to extract and decode the information stored in the ancient device. What they found shocked them to their core. The tablet contained records from a civilization that had existed on Earth before humans became the dominant species. These beings had advanced technology, but had been systematically eliminated by a galactic authority they called the Monitors. The Valtteri were mentioned specifically as enforcers. Gregory studied the translated text with growing horror. This has happened before, he told his assembled team. Not just on Earth, but throughout our galaxy. According to these records, when civilizations reach certain technological thresholds, they're either contained or eliminated if deemed unpredictable or aggressive. He scrolled through more translated data. There's a pattern. The Valtteri and their allies allow developing species to advance only along approved paths. Civilizations that develop too quickly or in unexpected directions are deemed threats to galactic stability. One of his colleagues looked up from her screen. Professor, there's more. The beings who left this record believed Earth would eventually produce another advanced species, us. They left these warnings deliberately, hoping to give future Earth civilizations a chance to avoid their fate. Gregory nodded gravely. And now we face the same threat. According to this data, humanity has been developing faster and in more unpredictable ways than the galactic consensus considers acceptable. We're breaking their rules simply by existing as we are. Just then, an urgent message arrived from the United Space Defense Command. The U.S. Horizon had encountered an advanced alien civilization called the Valtteri, who appeared to be constructing a weapon aimed at Earth. It's happening again, Gregory whispered. The United Defense Council chamber was filled with tension. Military leaders, scientists, and government officials from around the world had gathered to address the Valtteri threat. Large screens displayed the data from the U.S. Horizon alongside Professor Martinez's archaeological findings. The evidence is clear, Admiral Lewis said, standing at the center of the room. We face an advanced civilization that views our development as a threat. They have the technology to potentially wipe us out or severely limit our progress. General Rivera pounded his fist on the table. We should strike first. The Horizon scans give us the location of their construction project. We could send everything we have. Everything we have would be like throwing rocks at a tank, replied Dr. Catherine Murphy, the head of Earth's Advanced Physics Division. Their technology is centuries beyond ours. Catherine was a brilliant scientist with a reputation for unconventional thinking. Her gray-streaked dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and her eyes showed the fatigue of 3 days without proper sleep. What about negotiation? suggested the European Union representative. Perhaps we can reach an understanding. Professor Martinez shook his head. The historical record suggests the Volteri don't negotiate with species they've marked for containment. They believe they're maintaining galactic order. As the debate continued, Chief Engineer Paul Jackson sat quietly in the back of the room. He was not officially part of the council, having been invited as a technical consultant due to his work on experimental propulsion systems. While others argued, his mind worked on a different approach. During a brief recess, he approached Dr. Murphy in the hallway. "I have an idea," he said quietly, "but it's risky, possibly dangerous on a cosmic scale." Catherine studied his face. "At this point, I'm open to anything. What are you thinking?" "The new quantum resonance drive we've been developing. It doesn't just bend space for propulsion. In theory, it could create ripples in space-time itself." Her eyes widened. "You're talking about weaponizing it, creating some kind of space-time distortion." Paul nodded. "Not to destroy. That would make us exactly what they fear. But as a demonstration, a controlled disruption that would send shockwaves through the cosmos. Every advanced civilization would detect it." "A warning shot," Catherine murmured, "showing what we could do without actually harming anyone." "Exactly. It says, we have this capability, but we're choosing not to use it destructively." When the council reconvened, Catherine took the floor. Without revealing technical details, she proposed an alternative to both surrender and direct military confrontation. "We need to demonstrate humanity's potential as allies rather than threats," she argued. "Show the Volteri and any other watching civilizations that we have power, but also restraint and wisdom." Admiral Lewis looked skeptical. "And how exactly do we do that?" "I need 2 weeks with a special team and access to the quantum physics lab in Antarctica," she replied. "We can create a demonstration that can't be ignored." While the council debated Catherine's proposal, Paul Jackson quietly assembled a small team of trusted engineers and physicists. In a secure facility beneath the Antarctic ice, they worked around the clock, modifying the experimental quantum resonance drive. "If our calculations are off by even a fraction," warned one of the physicists, "we could create a runaway reaction that tears a hole in space-time." Paul nodded grimly. "That's why we're testing it in small increments. We need precise control." Days later, as the Volteri construction neared completion and their ships began to move toward Earth's solar system, Catherine presented their progress to the council. "We've successfully created controlled micro-distortions in space-time," she reported. "The effect is like ringing a bell. The vibrations travel far and fast through the cosmos, detectable by any civilization with advanced sensors." Admiral Lewis leaned forward. "And this will deter the Volteri." "It sends a clear message," Catherine replied. "We understand the fundamental forces of the universe. We could use this destructively, but we're choosing not to. That's the point they need to see." The Volteri fleet moved with disturbing precision. 7 of their enormous ships had entered the outer solar system, bypassing Earth's early warning systems with technology that bent light around their hulls. Only the most advanced sensors could detect their approach, and those readings were troubling. "They'll reach Earth's orbit in 3 days," Admiral Lewis informed the emergency council session. "Our deep space monitors show more vessels gathering at their construction site." The room fell silent. The moment of decision had arrived. "Dr. Murphy, is your team ready?" the Admiral asked. Catherine nodded, her face showing both determination and concern. "The device is operational, but untested at full capacity. We've run every simulation possible." "And the delivery method?" Commander Laura Peterson stepped forward. A veteran of 3 deep space missions, she had volunteered to lead the small team that would deploy the quantum resonance device. "We've modified our fastest stealth vessel with additional shielding," she explained. "We'll use Jupiter's gravity to accelerate, then drop out of standard space using the experimental drive. If all goes as planned, we'll reappear at the designated coordinates without the Volteri detecting our approach." Admiral Lewis surveyed the faces around him. The weight of humanity's future pressed down on every person in the room. The alternatives are surrender or conventional warfare, neither of which gives us any real chance, he said quietly. I'm authorizing Operation Cosmic Bell. Commander Peterson, you have 24 hours to prepare your team. Paul Jackson worked through the night, making final adjustments to the device. It was surprisingly small for something with such potential power. A sphere about 1 meter in diameter, with intricate patterns etched into its metallic surface. The calculations are triple-checked, he told Commander Peterson as they loaded the device onto her ship. When activated, it will create a controlled distortion that will ripple outward through spacetime. The effect will be detectable across thousands of light years, but will dissipate before causing any permanent damage. Laura studied the engineer's face. You don't sound entirely confident. This technology pushes beyond theoretical physics into the barely understood, Paul admitted. We're basing this on mathematical models and small-scale tests. No one has ever attempted anything like this before. The small strike team departed Earth under cover of darkness. Besides Commander Peterson, the crew included 2 pilots, a quantum physicist, and a military strategist. Their ship, the Voyager, slipped past the normal traffic of the inner solar system without being noticed. Using Jupiter's massive gravity field, they slingshot toward their designated coordinates, a carefully chosen point in empty space, far enough from any planets or shipping lanes to minimize risk, yet positioned so the ripple effect would spread outward through key sectors of the galaxy. Valtteri vessels have changed course, reported Lieutenant Frank Navarro from the sensor station. They've detected us. Prepare to activate the quantum drive, Laura ordered. We only need a few minutes at the target location. The ship shuddered as its experimental drive engaged. Normal space seemed to fold around them, stars stretching into lines as the Voyager slipped through a pocket in reality itself. They emerged exactly where planned, but alarms immediately sounded throughout the ship. 3 Valtteri vessels approaching. They've somehow tracked our jump. Laura's expression remained calm despite the danger. They must have technology that detects quantum distortions. Begin the deployment sequence. We need 60 seconds. The sphere was moved to the launch bay as the Valtteri ships closed in. Energy readings from the alien vessels suggested they were preparing to fire. Deployment complete. Initiating activation sequence, reported the physicist. Laura opened a channel to all approaching vessels, broadcasting on all frequencies. Attention Valtteri ships. We are activating a quantum resonance device. This is not an attack, but a demonstration. We recommend you withdraw to a safe distance. The Valtteri responded with a barrage of energy weapons. The Voyager's shields held, but barely. Activation in 5 seconds, called the physicist. The small sphere began to pulse with light, its etchings glowing with increasing brightness. Brace for quantum wave, Laura shouted. The device activated with a silent flash. For a brief moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then reality itself appeared to ripple, like a stone dropped into a cosmic pond. The wave expanded outward in all directions, passing harmlessly through the Voyager, but causing the Valtteri ships to shimmer and distort. The Voyager returned to Earth orbit 3 days after deploying the quantum resonance device. Commander Laura Peterson and her crew were exhausted but alive, their mission accomplished despite the Valtteri's attempts to stop them. On Earth, the Council gathered to assess the results of their daring gambit. Sensor stations throughout the solar system reported unusual activity. The approaching Valtteri fleet had stopped its advance and appeared to be holding position just beyond Mars. They receive our message, Admiral Lewis stated, but we don't know how they'll respond. The answer came sooner than expected. Early warning systems detected multiple spacetime distortions forming near Earth's orbit. Unlike the controlled ripple created by the quantum device, these were precise tears in the fabric of reality, artificial wormholes. Multiple unknown vessels emerging. The Space Defense Coordinator announced, his voice tense. We count 12 distinct signatures, all different from Valtteri design. The screens showed ships of various sizes and configurations appearing around Earth. They made no aggressive moves, but positioned themselves in a loose formation. Their design suggested they came from different civilizations. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies, the communications officer reported, each in a different language, but one matches standard Earth English. Put it through, ordered Admiral Lewis. The main screen activated, showing a being that resembled a tall, slender human, but with iridescent skin that shifted colors as it moved. Its eyes were large and entirely black. "People of Earth," the being said, its voice melodious despite the serious expression. "I am Delegate Zareth of the Aldari Confederation. Your quantum demonstration has been detected by numerous civilizations throughout this sector of the galaxy. We have come to discuss your actions and their implications." The council members exchanged nervous glances. This was unprecedented. First contact with not one but multiple alien civilizations simultaneously. Captain Richard Bennett, a veteran diplomat who had specialized in first contact protocols, was quickly brought to the communications center. Elizabeth Morgan, Earth's top xenolinguist, joined him. "Delegate Zareth," Richard addressed the screen, "we welcome the opportunity for dialogue. Our demonstration was not meant as a threat, but as a statement that humanity wishes to determine its own path." "A dangerous path," replied another alien who appeared on a separate screen. This one had features that suggested an aquatic origin. "The Valtteri Council has designated your species as requiring containment due to your unpredictable development patterns." "And who gave the Valtteri that authority?" Elizabeth asked boldly. "We have discovered records indicating they have suppressed multiple civilizations before us." A murmur seemed to pass through the alien representatives. The third delegate to speak looked almost reptilian, with scaled skin and vertical pupils. "The Valtteri claim to maintain galactic stability," this delegate said. "Many of us have accepted their judgments for millennia. But your quantum demonstration suggests capabilities that should not be possible for a species at your development stage." Richard straightened his posture. "We are not the threat," the Valtteri claim. "We seek peaceful coexistence and mutual exchange. But we will not accept subjugation." Elizabeth stepped forward, activating a display that showed Professor Martinez's archaeological findings. "We have evidence that Earth previously hosted an advanced civilization that was eliminated by the Valtteri. We believe similar suppression has occurred throughout the galaxy." She highlighted sections of the ancient records. "The Valtteri don't promote galactic peace. They enforce stagnation. They prevent novel evolutionary and technological paths that might challenge their authority." The aliens conferred among themselves, their communications creating a strange symphony of sounds and light patterns. Finally, Delegate Zareth spoke again. "Many of us have suspected the Valtteri's true purpose but lacked the courage to challenge them. Your species has demonstrated both remarkable capability and restraint. You could have aimed your quantum device at the Valtteri fleet, yet you chose a harmless demonstration." The reptilian delegate nodded. "This suggests wisdom we did not expect from such a young species." "We propose an alternative to the Valtteri's containment doctrine," Richard said firmly. "A new alliance based on mentorship rather than suppression. Advanced civilizations guiding developing ones, not controlling them." As the discussions continued, the Valtteri fleet began to retreat from the solar system. They had not expected Earth to gain allies among the very civilizations they had dominated for so long. 6 months after Earth's first official contact with multiple alien civilizations, the planet hummed with activity. New technologies flowed in as interspecies cooperation flourished. The streets of major cities now featured visitors from a dozen worlds, their strange appearances becoming an increasingly common sight. At the newly established Interstellar Cooperative in Geneva, Dr. Samantha Brooks led a team of Earth's top scientists working alongside alien counterparts. The facility sprawled across what had once been an international airport, now converted into a research center unlike anything humanity had previously imagined. The molecular stabilization is holding at 96%, Samantha announced, studying the readouts from their latest experiment. Beside her, a Tellurian scientist named Morzak clicked its mandibles in what she had learned was an expression of approval. Your species adapts quickly, Morzak observed. The Volteri assessment of humanity as dangerously unpredictable was not entirely incorrect, but they failed to recognize the positive aspects of such adaptability. Samantha smiled. We've had to be adaptable. Our history is full of challenges that forced us to evolve or perish. In orbit above Earth, Admiral William Carter watched from the observation deck as workers completed the new defense grid. The technology had been provided by the Aldari Confederation, but human engineers had improved upon the original design. Will it be enough? Asked the young lieutenant beside him. Against the Voltari. Perhaps, Carter replied honestly. But we're not just relying on technology anymore. Our greatest protection is our new alliance. The Admiral's communicator chimed. The face of Richard Bennett appeared on the small screen. In the months since first contact, Richard had been appointed Earth's primary diplomat to the newly formed Galactic Cooperative. Admiral, the Council is gathering. Your presence is requested for the security briefing. The Council chamber represented a blend of architectural styles from multiple worlds. Representatives from 17 species now regularly attended these meetings, with Earth holding equal status despite being the newest member. The Volteri have withdrawn to their core systems, reported the Soluvian delegate, a being whose crystalline body structure reflected light in hypnotic patterns. Our intelligence suggests they are regrouping, not surrendering. They've controlled galactic development for nearly 50,000 years. Delegate Zareth added, they will not easily accept this challenge to their authority. Admiral Carter addressed the assembly. Earth's history is filled with powerful empires that eventually fell when their subjects united against them. The Volteri are technologically superior, but they now face something they've never encountered. A coalition of diverse species working together. The representatives nodded in agreement. One by one, they reported on preparations being made throughout Allied space. Defense systems were being upgraded, communication networks established, and centuries of Volteri suppression were being dismantled. Later that evening, Samantha Brooks stood on the roof of the research facility, gazing up at the stars. So much had changed in such a short time. Human scientists now worked with concepts that would have seemed like magic a year earlier. Paul Jackson joined her, his eyes following her gaze upward. The engineer had become something of a celebrity after his quantum resonance device had effectively changed humanity's cosmic destiny. Having second thoughts? He asked quietly. Samantha shook her head. No. But I do wonder what comes next. We've stepped onto a much bigger stage, with greater opportunities and greater dangers. The Volteri will return, Paul acknowledged. They've invested too much in their system of control to simply walk away. But we won't face them alone, Samantha replied. That's what they never accounted for. That the species they've been suppressing might find common cause. In a secure meeting room beneath the Geneva facility, Admiral Carter reviewed the latest intelligence with Earth's military leadership. Images of Volteri construction projects filled the screens. They're building something new, he told the assembled officers. Something bigger than what we first detected. General Rivera studied the scans. How much time do we have? Unknown, Carter replied. But when they come, it won't be just to contain us. They'll aim to eliminate the threat we represent, not just our technology, but the idea that species can determine their own evolutionary path. He switched off the displays and looked around the room. Humanity's warning to the galaxy has been delivered. We've shaken the cosmos and changed the balance of power. Now we need to prepare for the response. The story was planned as a 7-part series in the original outline, but I'd be happy to create an 8th part to continue the narrative. Here's part 8. 1 year after the formation of the Galactic Cooperative, Earth had changed in ways few could have imagined. Cities now featured alien architecture alongside human designs. Children played with holographic toys that taught them about distant worlds. The night sky was filled with the lights of visiting ships and the new orbital stations. In a remote facility in the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Carter met with the core team that had helped humanity survive the Volteri threat. Dr. Samantha Brooks, Paul Jackson, Commander Laura Peterson, and Professor Martinez gathered around a table displaying the three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Our deep space probes have detected unusual activity in this sector, Carter said, highlighting a region near the former Volteri construction site. Energy signatures unlike anything we've seen before. Hall studied the readings with concern. They're experimenting with something new. These patterns suggest manipulation of dark energy on a massive scale. The Aldari scientists believe the Volteri are attempting to create a weapon that could disrupt the quantum links between allied worlds, Samantha added. They're adapting to our new defenses. Professor Martinez looked troubled. According to the ancient records, this matches a pattern. The Volteri respond to resistance by developing increasingly powerful suppression technologies. Laura pointed to several locations on the map. We've established early warning stations here, and here. If they launch an offensive, we'll have time to prepare. The meeting was interrupted by an urgent communication. The holographic display switched to show Delegate Zareth, their expression serious. Admiral, we've received a direct communication from the Volteri High Command. They are requesting a diplomatic meeting with representatives from Earth specifically. Carter frowned. Why Earth? We're just one member of the cooperative. They consider you the instigators of this rebellion, Zareth replied. In their view, humanity broke the established order. After careful consideration, the Council agreed to the meeting. A neutral location was selected. A small moon orbiting a gas giant in an uninhabited system. Both sides would send 3 representatives. Carter insisted on leading the Earth delegation himself. Samantha Brooks would attend as scientific advisor, while Richard Bennett would handle diplomatic protocols. Their ship arrived at the designated coordinates to find a Volteri vessel already waiting. It was smaller than their warships, but still impressive, its hull shimmering with a metallic surface that seemed to flow like liquid. Remember, Richard cautioned as they prepared to board the neutral station, the Volteri communicate as much through implication as direct statement. They believe in their cosmic mission with religious conviction. The meeting chamber was sparse, with a simple round table made of some unknown material that seemed to absorb light. 3 Volteri representatives waited, their blue metallic skin and multiple eyes exactly as described in the Horizon's first contact reports. Humans, the central figure said, its circular arrangement of eyes blinking in sequence. We are the Shapers, representatives of the Volteri High Command. Carter nodded respectfully. We come in peace, seeking resolution to our differences. Peace, the Volteri repeated, the word sounding strange from its mouth. For 50,000 years, we have maintained peace through careful management of developing species. You have disrupted that order. We've created a new order, Samantha responded boldly. One based on cooperation rather than suppression. The lead Volteri's eyes fixed on her. Your species does not understand the dangers of uncontrolled development. We have witnessed the collapse of entire galactic civilizations when species advance without proper guidance. Perhaps the problem wasn't advancement, Richard suggested carefully. Perhaps it was isolation. Species developing alone, without the wisdom of diverse perspectives. The Volteri conferred among themselves in their strange clicking language before the leader spoke again. We offer terms. Earth may maintain its alliances, but must accept Volteri oversight of certain technological developments. In return, we will share knowledge from our archives. Carter studied the aliens carefully. And if we refuse? Then the coming conflict will reshape the galaxy, the Volteri replied simply. Not all your new allies will stand with you when truly tested. As they left the meeting, Carter knew this was no resolution, merely the opening move in a longer game. The Volteri hadn't ruled for 50 millennia by giving up easily. They're trying to divide us from our allies, Samantha observed.